What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Today we are talking about Season 4, Episode 13, Return to Grace. I'm excited to talk about this episode. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Keith. We had a Monday night watch-along last night. Some good insights. We had a BSOD. I had my computer crash. I haven't blue screened in like...
Oh, no.
Yeah, and right in the middle, right before the episode started, so it all worked out. But I'm excited to talk about this one, as is every week. I'm a little heartened, Keith, I'll mention. We have two little housekeeping bits up top. Then we're going to just fire away. We got an email. I'm just going to mention this briefly. You know, at the end of this show every week, we talk about the other shows we did and have done. Mm-hmm. And we always mention Out of Hand, Out of Practice podcast, which started it all. But that was like 4 years of our lives. And... got a really nice email from a listener, Mike, today, who's making the slog. He's on season 3, so he's slogging through Out of Practice, and he's like, "Man, I'm talking to past Keith and Mike, and I hope that future Keith and Mike are still doing something." I said, "Oh, I hope you have hundreds of hours of your time left, because we sure have other things going." So anyway, to anyone who's finding this in the future, thank you so much for keeping us alive. Lord knows Keith and I's archaic souls, wherever they may be when you find this show, need your help and support. So thank you.
I mean, look, we might be running an empire. We might be dead. You never know.
Anything is possible.
Well, Mike, do you know that in February, in 2 months, it will be K&M's 5-year anniversary?
Oh, so you know what this calls for? Us saying we're going to do something and not delivering.
Oh my God, that is the K&M tradition. Guys, you won't believe what we're going to do for our 5th anniversary.
Overpromise, baby. Overpromise.
It's good. I mean, there's going to be there's going to be dancers, explosions, hovercrafts, and we're not going to mention it because we won't remember.
No, but cake seems a must.
Cake does seem a must. So Jen, the only person who will A, remember, and B, follow through on anything, make sure there's cake.
Jen, you're in charge of facilitating the first ever in over 5 years of K&Ming in-person recording. That's what you have to facilitate. I don't know how we pull it off.
Absolutely not. That is something that you have promised, and I have shot down every single time.
Keep bringing it up.
It's going to be great.
We say no guests, but we had one, and we're having another one, so...
Indeed, and we also... I tried to say no gifts. But one of us, not me, trolled the world begging for gifts last week.
I did do that. And then the second Jason wrote me, I felt instantly guilty and joy.
Yeah, it was like, oh, here's the deal. I want gifts. I'm not going to return a gift as well. But you know what? But here's the thing. Secretly, in my secret heart, oh my God, do I love getting presents.
Yeah, of course. Come, who doesn't?
It is genuinely my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And today we have gifts from our great friend and patron, Jason T. Mo. And so we have not opened these. We're going to open them right here, right now, and find out what they are. So Jason reached out to us at Keith and Mike Entertainment at gmail.com or look at my Star Trek toys at gmail.com and sent us this exciting thing. Mike, should we do it?
I've ripped. I've already ripped.
I have not ripped. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. We'll do 1, 2, 3, pull. Okay.
Well, that doesn't work. All right, hold on. All right, yes. Ready?
1, 2, 3, pull.
Ah!
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yes! Make it snow!
Mine says Trek the Halls.
Oh my God, that is... All right, well, you know what? Next week will probably be our holiday episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think this is fantastic.
Is that a sweater or a tee?
It's a long sleeve tee.
Yeah, mine's a long sleeve tee, which is great for your running, and I can't wait to wear
I'm going to wear this with pride. I'm going to wear this Christmas morning. That's what I'm going to do.
I didn't even see this, dude.
Huh.
I missed it before. It's got the little 8-bit guys.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna put this on for a little joggy jog right after this episode. I said that, and then I thought about the rest of my day, and maybe not. But
see,
you know what?
You overpromised, and you instantly did not deliver.
I'm all about layers these days, baby. So this is a good layer.
Jason, thank you so much for that. That is really fantastic. I feel seen. And as a Vermonter, boy, do I love my snow.
You know what I appreciate?
Not only do I love my Star Trek, I love my snow.
What I appreciate about Jason, amongst so many things, but Keith is his job basically is to take things I like and destroy them for me, and also introduce me to other things I love. But Jason picks those things back up, replaces them, and super glues the fragile porcelain doll that is my heart. And perfect examples every week during the watch along, Keith. He demands. He insists that I play Sailing. Sailing! And he loves it. He appreciates the humor, and he appreciates the place in my heart that it holds. So I thank you, Jason T-Mo.
You know why? Behind the paywall, you won't be demonetized.
Okay, well, let's see how we do today, Keith, with your new idea.
Yeah, that's true. This may be totally shut down. All right. Well, okay. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely will be a joy. You'll see it. You'll see them both next episode. Very, very awesome. All right. So before we talk about Return to Grace, we have to give your ratings on Crossfire. And sort of a wide range, interestingly. But all sort of hovering around where we came. We came in around the 90 level. Joshua Cronin gives it a 76. Our good buddy Jason Moe gives it a 90. YouTube viewer, I didn't write anything this week, but I read the name anyway. Hey, what's up, buddy? Delusions at Noon gave it an 89. JD comes in with an 87. Harry Pothead with an 8. Worf's Big Ol' Boot Shivs with an 88. Kevin Miles with a 91, and Chancellor Jen coming in with a 95. Sans Deity, I hear you, I know you, I don't know what's going on. YouTube is fighting with you.
Did you make Google mad, Sans?
Yeah, what did you do to Google? What did you do? Something has gone horribly wrong. Anyway,
that's one thing you don't want to happen. You don't want to break Google because they retaliate. If you want a super tip, they are not having it.
No. Well, anyway, if you're having trouble, you can email me. I'll read your comment. Don't you worry about it. If anybody else would like me to read their comment on here and the
Chancellor
the
Jen did request a read today.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, because she said I went hard on the comment today.
Okay, well,
I don't know what that means, but
I don't know, but you know what? We are going to read it because we will read your comment if you leave a super thanks, or if you're the CEO of the company.
Yeah, those are two.
If you are the chancellor of the company, Chancellor Jen says,
"Hey, if you go hard, forget it. You know what?
No,
forget it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You're talking about your wife, buddy."
I know my firewall does exist.
Oh, it just shut. It just came in. Wow.
There are very few rules, but there are a few. They work.
Very wise. Very
functioning.
Wise. Chancellor Jen is finally caught up, and you guessed it, I love it. This was heartbreaking to watch. Renee is fabulous, and the Quark Odo scenes are fantastic. Armin Shimmerman's performance is so nuanced and subtle, and I love the theory that he placed the listening device on purpose for an Odo win. Kudos to the patron who thought of that. I can totally see it. I really love the episode and what Mike said about Deep Space Nine showing us relationships in moments. And I think I said that.
No, that was definitely me.
All right, fine.
Wow, Keith just took my compliment and my moment and my one salient piece of analysis.
No, you were on fire last week. Like you were coming in hot last week. Anyway, I love feeling like I can relate to these characters we've grown to love. 95 stem bolts from the Chancellor. And by the way, I did watch part 2 of the back-to-backer a couple weeks ago because I wanted to join in the live stream fun, but I was so confused. I went back and watched part 1, then rewatched part 2 again. They were great. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Chancellor. Let's talk about Return to Grace, shall we? Which aired.
Wait, hold on. We have another read. Don't we have Sans?
No, we didn't get it yet.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there you go. So Return to Grace aired on February 5th, 1996. The top song, would you believe it, continued to be One Sweet Day, Mariah Carey and Boys II Men. Can't wait to hear it.
Weeks have gone by, and I gotta tell you, I still can't even come up with the melody of One Sweet Day.
I mean, it is available to listen to.
I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do it real quick.
It's Boys II Men and Mariah Carey. I mean, this was really killing it at this era of 1996.
Because I don't want to get stung, I'm pulling up just the first thing I see. 13-year-old Liamani sings Mariah Carey's part in One Sweet Day. So this is
Fabulous.
the YouTube channel Liamani Sings. So thank you, Liamani.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear what we got. Down on me. Her buddy's singing the crap out of it too.
Wow.
Okay, I'll link that down in the show notes because that's worth a watch. And thank you.
What was her name again?
Liamani Sings. Keith. I mean, she's only got 315,000 subscribers.
Okay, so she
doesn't need our bump.
We are literally a bug on her windshield. Okay, great. She's like, oh, we could really do something nice for this poor girl.
Why? I was like, why is that
no
out there in the
business with
first YouTube that shows up? But now
she has no business with us. All right, so what was going on?
She should link us.
Yeah, that's right. Would you link us, please? Can we talked about you. The top movie was Black Sheep, the Chris Farley,
right?
David Spade follow-up to Tommy Boy, because I think it was Paramount decided not to promote Tommy Boy because they didn't think it was going to be anything. It blew the hell up, and they're like, "Oh my God, make another one of those before you're ready and when nobody's healthy," and that's how you get Black Sheep. So
a lot of social commentary in that, Keith.
Hey, there I go. You come here for the commentary, right? You can just watch the episode, right? It's faster and doesn't involve our commentary.
Wait till next week when I take credit for that.
But you can. Oh my God! Shots fired.
We're having lots of fun today.
We're fighting today.
You remember those puppets you would put on and just hit the little triggers and they would just like throw punches? I had one that was Ronald Reagan. It was Ronald Reagan as a boxer.
Oh yes, well it was like a nun, right? I'm not going to say the name because like I don't know for sure, but it was a name of something from an old-timey toy, so I'm assuming it's racist.
Yeah, I don't remember what they were called, but I know that you could get like I had an Ivan Drago, I had a President Reagan, I had a bunch of little ones.
And you had like the Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Yeah, that was
sort
same
of the
principle,
same deal.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Neuron fire.
No, I'm not, clearly. What was Voyager doing? Well, they were doing the episode Meld, which I thought was very interesting. They brought in Brad Dourif, amazing, fantastic actor, to play a serial killer on Star Trek as a Starfleet member who's part of the Maquis, but whatever. Really interesting idea. How do we deal with somebody predisposed to be a serial killer in the Star Trek world? Really interesting and good guest actor and an interesting follow-up. We'll talk about when we get there. When we get to the Voyager watch-along podcast, which we'll have to do after Deep Space Nine. Mike dies inside. All right, so Return to Grace was directed by Les Landau, who last directed the episode Destiny. And I think one of the things I noticed about Les Landau's work is the composite shots of people in close to the camera and further back and getting them both in focus. I think we see that a lot from Les Landau.
And he had his work cut out from this week because it's really, at the end of the day, like 2 setups.
It's a two-hander. Yeah, it really is. And it was written by Hans Beimler, who last wrote Sword of Kahless, with a teleplay by Tom Benko, who wrote on The House of Quark.
Liked that one. Sword of Kahless, not my jam, but...
No, Sword of Kahless was not good. It was not good. But you don't want to know what is good? Our next segment. That's not it at all.
Damn it. I have to change them because they're sequenced incorrectly. I have them all in order on my button thing, and the trivial comes after.
Oh, you know what? No. This is, you know what? I gotta own this. This is me screwing up, reading it out of order.
Hey, okay. Well, you know what? At this point,
I don't want you coming for me again. I will own my shit.
We're just two pre-dimensioned men trying to fumble their way through a sequence that they've done hundreds of times.
It's before noon, okay?
It is fair. Nope, it's noon.
It's exactly noon. Okay, well, there you go.
Keith, what was going on the headlines here? It looks like a bad dinosaur.
Well, I mean, it's tough to say because it is its nature. Is it truly bad? But there is a blood-sucking dinosaur going on a killing spree, murdering animals right now.
Dead in Puerto Rico terror.
Wow, I didn't know there were dinosaurs on Puerto Rico. I mean, I've been there. I didn't see any dinosaurs.
Wait, hold on, folks. This might be my favorite headline we've ever had. Boy 5 wakes up from coma and is fined for jaywalking.
Oh my God.
Oh, that is Family Guy level non sequitur humor right there.
Phenomenal. Yeah, so look out for those jaywalking toddlers and blood-sucking dinosaurs.
Turns out his name was Jay and he just was walking, so off confused.
You should be fined for that joke. All right, so yeah, there you go. Your time with trivial trivia.
Oh, we're having a treat today, folks.
Look, I got a cool new T-shirt.
I know, that's rad.
I'm excited.
Mine was cool until the cat decided it was a bed.
I mean, everything's a bed.
Quick.
That's right. But I think cat hair on your clothes makes it cooler because if I didn't believe that, then all of my clothes would be ruined.
You know, cats are generally unimpressed by everything until a box shows up. Mm-hmm. You buy them toys, you buy them treats, you buy them all kinds of stuff. But if you get an Amazon and it comes in a box, holy crap, get ready. Your cat's pumped.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right, trivial trivia. This is the second and final appearance of Sia Batten as Zial. In her next appearance, meaning Zial's appearance for the cause, she is played by Tracy Middendorf. Mike, do you remember Tracy Middendorf from The Practice?
I mean, I was set up for failure here. Absolutely not. How would I don't remember my name, let alone Middendorf?
Well, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Little Drummer Boy.
I'm gonna need more.
Jimmy in a car, and she does a monologue about Little Drummer Boy.
Okay. I hope she has I hope she has a better arc in this one.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. In all the subsequent appearances, after Tracy does one episode, Melanie Smith embodies the role.
So some would say she was the mid-Endorf actress playing the part. See, she was not the first and not the last, Keith. She was in the middle there.
Whew! Oh, we really went around the universe to land that one. Went to warp.
Did we land it?
However, it wasn't because they didn't like Sia Batten, because, like many performers, she can be seen in other Trek series. She goes on to do episodes of Enterprise and Voyager, including playing in
really
Orion.
Like her. In both episodes she's been in, I've
thought she was
complimented
good.
her acting very good.
I thought she was great.
She aged quite a bit, it feels like.
Well, I mean, I think they wanted the character to be a little bit older so she could do more adult things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of adult things, Sia goes on to play an Orion slave person of female identity on Enterprise.
Oh,
so
cool.
There you go. The human characters in this episode receive only 2 minutes of screen time, and all the rest of the characters are episodes from alien races. That's kind of cool. We get our first appearance of Casey Biggs as Damar, which you wouldn't know is an important character yet. But not only is he an important character, he is also the ex-husband of Roxanne Dawson, who plays B'Elanna Torres on Star Trek Voyager. He is also a member of the Enterprise Blues Band, which writes and performs songs about Star Trek.
And you thought our job was nerdy.
I know. With other people who have worked on the show, Biggs plays the rhythm guitar and sings some of the backup vocals.
Hashtag very jealous.
Look,
Keith, we could get in now. We're part of the family.
Are we?
Well, you're like literally part of the family by extension, and I have touched you. So just keep going. Move forward.
Look, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying we're not proud of it.
Oh, that tickled me so.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you want to know who tickles us in all the appropriate ways?
Oh, they do. They send us presents. They say nice stuff. They do all of the things we hoped they would do. We're eternally grateful. Always have been, always will be. Brian Kimball, Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Joshua Cronin, Peter Bank, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and that mysterious household. Hope you guys are still on the mend. Worf's Big Ol' Boot Shivs, Charles Babbage, Harry Pothead, CRM Productions, Keith's Pop, and Mom, Delusions at Noon, YouTube viewer James Hubbard, JD Makes, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, CRM, Pat, Joshua Cronin, John Don, my buddy, and Lutz Kremer. Guys, they get all kinds of fun stuff. They are actually part of family. We hang out online. We exchange emails and gifts. I mean, it's like they give us gifts. And hopefully their time isn't totally wasted, which is a gift on its own. And you can get all of that goodness for just the low price of $1 and above.
Or more.
Yes.
Or more.
We're going to make that clear. We're just trying to democratize, if you will, the experience of the patrons. And Keith and I were talking offline. We have high hopes to diversify and expand the Patreon offering coming in the new year, so we'll talk all about that. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts to the patrons. K&M on patreon.com.
Yes, thank you to all of them. I'm oddly aware of how crooked my nose is today.
Do not get focused on it. You're going to be obsessed. Let's go.
All right, our guest stars this week include Mark Alaimo back as Gul Dukat, always welcome. Sia Batten as Tora Ziel, Casey Biggs here as Damar, and with the co-star John K. Shull as K'tabang.
Keith, are we going to talk about, should we talk about, because I heard some chatter from various patrons on the watch along, and I have not done my research yet, so maybe we'll put a pin in it. But apparently there was a little bit of tension between Nana and Alaimo with some of their back and forth, like he was a little too method, if you will. Have you heard this?
Yes. Yes, I have heard that. I don't know if it was referring to this episode specifically, but they spent a lot of time together. Yeah, I mean, and they address it a little bit in the phenomenal documentary "What We Leave Behind" about the making of the series,
which I can't watch.
We will,
right?
Oh my God, can you not watch that? But we will watch it together when we're all done.
Okay.
For sure, we will definitely do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to some acting styles. Mm-hmm. And that Mark Alaimo is more of a stay in character kind of a guy. And so yeah, I mean, I think he's part of what makes him so great is that he really embodies this guy.
Have you ever worked with a really method performer in a show?
Not really. I think in a lot of ways because it's hard to do that in musical theater. I think it's much more common in film and TV to sort of do that because it's weird because you're jumping out of the scene and changing costumes and singing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I have been accused of taking my stuff too seriously, but not off stage. I'm more like when I was doing Les Mis, I threw myself down a staircase to make it look cool and looked like I'd been through a war by the end of the run.
Yeah, cool.
Good story.
Yeah. I was I have a lot of anecdotes, but there's not a lot of time. Not really. I do try to foster, if I'm supposed to be in a close relationship with certain people or principals, whatever, I do try to foster go out to dinner once or twice, try to get to know them a little bit so that there's some connection there, but I don't stay in character or anything. But like you said, what am I gonna walk around with, pretending to be Gomez at? I haven't really played, if you're doing Tevye or somebody who has more of a heavy sort of arc, I can see where you might need to not be goofing around backstage and kind of stay in a place. I understand that so much. I mean, I used to hear stories. I had friends who were on tour with Ted Neely and Superstar, and they would say that he would go into the bathroom for like an hour and a half after the show just to kind of like release wherever he had to go, or just to release
that's
because
what we
he had
do
to
in the
go.
bathroom.
Yeah.
We release whenever we have to go. That's the whole point.
It's time we release into the show.
We're loopy today.
Cats love a box, and they love that sound.
I'm sure they do. All right, so in our teaser, we begin with Kira getting a bunch of inoculations to go to the diplomatic conference with the Cardassians. And we find via the inoculations, which I think is a great way to sort of tell the story, that the Cardassians' entire health system was destroyed by the Klingon invasions. So she now needs to take a whole bunch of vaccines. She has been seduced into attending this conference by Shakar, who she's still banging. And she describes it in exquisite detail, not to poor Odo, but to her current romantic partner, Alexander Siddig. So, Kira's just breaking hearts right and left, in front of and behind the camera.
Who then sort of like meta joke gets inoculated by with basically Ozempic, which makes her instantly have to crap and run off screen. It was felt like a meta joke to me.
Well, I mean, look, this is back when we believed vaccines were good for us. They are, folks. Come on, what's wrong with you? So Worf enters, and the Federation is nervous about Bajorans giving information to the Cardassians, including some of the Federation's advancements they don't want the Cardassians to know about. Then she pukes from all the vaccines like Mike does when he gets his COVID booster.
Holy crap, that's true.
She's basically you. She's playing you.
Oh,
later.
That's what, okay. I think JD made that joke. He's like, Kira's basically you in this scene. No, I didn't get it, but now I get it.
But now you get it. Now you get it. The COVID booster, which, by the way, made my last bout of COVID mildly annoying and not that disastrous. Get your boosters, folks. Later, who walks into Kira's quarters but Gul Dukat himself? And we find out he has been demoted because of not killing his illegitimate half-Bajoran daughter, Ziel. And his wife left him, and his mother disowned him, and he's now a freighter captain.
There was a name coined for him last night, Keith. I can't take credit. All hail the patrons. We're thinking we're calling him Divorced Dad Dukat. Triple D.
Divorced Dad Dukat.
The Triple D.
Oh, hey, my buddy Jason, not Jason Moe, Jason Coulter. Search everybody. You know what? We'll put the link in the description. Search Divorced Dad Cooking Show. It's a sketch that he did like many years ago on YouTube. It is hilarious. All right. So I think I can imagine Dukat doing Divorced Dad Cooking Show. All right. So anyway, he's here to escort Kira to the conference, and he says he's accepted his punishment, but he's going to get back everything that he has lost. So it's interesting that Kira convinced him not to kill his daughter or hide his daughter, and he really embraced it, but it's come with some real significant consequences for him.
The dichotomy between the two things we learn in this episode is really fascinating. Right from the jump, like we learn how pissed off and vengeance-filled he is about his new station, but also what a cool dad he's been recently.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. Like, he doesn't harbor any of that ill will towards her.
No.
He's focused it all on the people that... But also says he empathizes and would have done the same thing to him if he were them. Very cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a complex dude.
He is not... Yeah, he says as much.
Yeah. He does.
Folks, get your dog whistles out because Dukat's a blow 'em all this week.
He sure is. So in Act 2, we take off in Dukat's freighter. Kira is in her quarters that are clearly redresses of the Defiance bunks. Go back one. You can see. Go back. Yeah. So I'm like 98% sure that's a redress of the bunks in the Defiant.
JD concurs.
Aha! Smart. So Ziel enters, and we find out that she's living on the freighter now. She was not accepted on Cardassia. And apparently Dukat's been pretty good to her and not ashamed to be out with her in public. And as a result, she's really devoted to him. Then a battle drill starts on a freighter, and we get the first appearance of Damar on the bridge. He's Dukat's first officer on the ship. Dukat is drilling their phasers, blowing up asteroids, and he's miserable that they're so slow and underpowered. And Kira gives him some advice on how to upgrade them, but of course they don't even have the equipment to do the upgrade. He has gone from a battleship to a barge.
Also, I understand all of this, but I would say that a little disrespectful from Kira here. Quite a bit. She, you know what I mean? Like if she was on our bridge, you don't just give unsolicited advice to the captain of the ship.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do it a little more subtly and not in front of his folks.
But I mean, she does despise him, so, you know.
Yeah, no. Let's all remember who Dukat was and what he did.
Yeah, he was the butcher of, not that butcher of...
Of Galatep. Yeah, exactly, pretty much.
Yeah.
He wasn't, not of Galatep, but he was like, this dude was a monster. Let's all keep that in mind. Then he asks Kira to dinner. She's not excited, but says yes to be polite. So they sit in the captain's quarters and drink Bajoran wine while eating some horrible cabbage with fruit on it. Ugh. Like
I appreciate
cabbage.
that you always specify what weird prop food they have. This one was particularly bad.
Just like boiled cabbage and you cut it open and inside is like mango with cabbage juice on it.
But it does bring up a very good sci-fi point that I did think about, like, because I have the same thoughts. I love to look at props. I love props. So, you know, even as a pretty open-minded individual, right, there are times when people's there are certain ethnic cuisines that are not my cup of tea, or at face value do not appear to be my cup of tea, that you have to kind of like go to a place to try, because I'm not often adventurous with my palate. I'm trying to be better, but point taken. But that's with what do we have, 500 different kind of cuisines, you know, or maybe 1,000 different tribes and different things around this world we live in. Imagine how adventurous your palate's got to be for all the thousands and thousands of species we come across, like out in the great galaxy.
So much
space.
That's a very good point. So he asks her about her relationship with Shakar, and he calls her out on always dating powerful men.
And boring, I believe.
And boring, powerful men, which I believe we discussed that in great detail last week.
Mm-hmm.
He flirts with her and slut shames Shakar, always trying to poke at it. Very clear what he wants. Then they get an alarm. The outpost they were going to. It's
nice to see a man get slut shamed for a change, though, right?
Yeah.
Because usually in our society, it's like, oh, how many slashes on your bedpost, right?
Yeah, but he's only doing it to try to bang Kira. So
yeah, well, I mean, you don't hate the player, not the game. I've always wanted to use that. I've never had an instance to do so.
And the quote was, "Hate the player, not the game."
Isn't it that way?
No, it's hate the game, not the player.
No, I don't. I think, you know what? Dealer's choice.
I don't
know what the axiom is.
Hate the player, not the game.
Hate the game, not the player. You're right.
Don't hate the player.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's it.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It's terrible and shouldn't be used, and I shouldn't have said it. So there you go. I didn't mean it.
Buddy, we need to have a long conversation about whether you have already had your treats today, and you'd only get your treats once a day, no matter how much you bother me.
He's the best, man.
So then they get an alarm. Like I said, the outpost that they were going to for the conference has been destroyed, killing everybody on board. And then a Klingon bird of prey decloaks in front of them. Uh-oh. But the Klingon ship ignores them, not seeing them as a threat. Dukat wants to fight, but Kira knows they've got no chance. But Kira then gives them some inside info on how to fight, so they take a shot, but it is still useless. And worst of all, the bird of prey continues to ignore them and warps off. And this completely emasculates Dukat. And I think Alaimo's performance of... You go back one shot, because I think this picture of utter emasculation trying to hide it with some dignity, it's a great performance by Alaimo in that moment.
I think so, because often what you see, and I thought this too, and it's great writing, it's great plot setup and device too, because 99% of the time when someone is playing either resigned to their station or enraged and out for vengeance, right? It's an either or situation. Rarely does someone have the sort of finesse to play them both, because they can coexist. He is both resigned to his station, yep, this is what I deserve, but also infuriated by it, and has to show both those things.
He's really being forced to try to retain his dignity while eating a shit sandwich.
Yeah, and what makes good to great is that third element that we talked about, the third element of, and knows he behaved the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, like, this is like the dark transactional world that Dukat's head lives in. Mm-hmm. Like, he gets it, but it sucks. He decides to go tell Cardassia there's a Klingon ship operating behind their lines and somebody else is gonna have to deal with it. But Kira, on the other hand, has an idea. She wants to go after the Klingons, because they killed a bunch of Bajorans too. And she's got a plan to take one of the outpost's giant planetary defense cannons and mount it in the freighter's cargo bay. Love this idea. So cool, so, like, smart. Dukat is skeptical, but Kira says, think like a resistance fighter. So they have to dump all of the cargo, including the Cassidy Yates branded boxes. And this, of course, we learn in the little nugget, which makes perfect sense, that Cardassian freighter captains get to keep some of the cargo. So he's reluctant to jettison it all into space, but he does anyway.
His commission, right? He gets a commission.
He gets a commission, that's right. So, yeah, I mean, if you think they didn't reuse some of Cassidy Yates' stuff in that shot...
Peel that sticker, baby. I'm looking at it right in the foreground at the bottom, right by our logo.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly those things.
Hilarious. So they mount the cannon in the cargo bay and test it out on another asteroid, and it blows the crap out of it. But the recoil does some damage to the ship. Doesn't matter. Dukat doesn't care. He is delighted. If they can take out the bird of prey, it might restore his reputation. He continues trying to butter up Kira, but she's not interested in being on a team with Dukat. He continues to defend himself and his motivations. It's not all about trying to get his power back. He loves his people, and he doesn't want the Klingons to get away with murdering them. I mean, once again, Dukat's like great. Like, is he good? Is he bad? His monologuing here is always so good in this episode.
Yeah, you know, I'll talk about this a lot more later, but what I really love about Dukat is, even like, if you read the transcript of most of his monologues, you'd be like, this is like xenophobic and terrible. But when delivered, right, this is actually one of the things, and I don't want to get on a side, that is interesting to me about Trump, because a lot of would-be dictators, right, it's their charisma that, like, sells the magic to you, right? It's like you're bamboozled. We talked about this when we went to see that play the other week, Keith. That's why Trump makes me laugh, because I was like, he has the absence of charisma.
Well, but I don't think that's true for everybody.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's like a magnet, right? Certain things repel, certain things attract.
It's revulsion, right? Mm-hmm. But I think what his dark power is, he's compelling.
Yeah.
Whether you're repulsed or intrigued, you want to watch him.
Yeah. Something about somebody who gives zero shits, right?
He gives zero shit, and that's why people like him, right? And it's like, and that's why it's so dangerous. He couches everything as a half joke, wink, wink, but he's not joking.
To pivot, Dukat's got that joie de vivre, same like that joie de vivre that like I am compelled by him. I often want to believe what he's selling. I want to, you know what I mean?
Right. We want
especially,
to
and then when you double in with
like
his daughter. And she's kind of like pitching for him, right? So
that's right.
Not kind of. She's absolutely pitching for him.
Yeah.
Well, but he also did like rescue her from being like a mining person. So
I mean, and with the thought that I'm going here to kill her.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to blow up the prison and the hole in the wall let you out. You still got me out of prison.
Sure.
I didn't blow up, you know.
So he keeps talking crap about Shakar and flirting, but Kira backs him off again.
Well, maybe it's because we just agree with that one point. Shakar is the Neapolitan of people.
No, I don't disagree with his assessment of Shakar. Don't get me wrong, and that's what makes Dukat difficult, is because half the time he's right, and what makes and sort of like Trump, he says the stuff you shouldn't say, and when you agree with it, it's exciting.
Yes,
and then and that's the thing. So and in this scene, I keep wondering, right? Still, is all of this because he wants to go to Pound Town with Kira, or is it a deeper desperation just to be liked by everybody?
Oh man. I think what I love about Dukat, and maybe I'm over giving it credit, but I think that he would be fascinating on the couch, right? Like it isn't either or. There's so many checks and balances within his own psyche that it's hard to parse. I think it's all of those things. I think there is also a part of him that wants to be redeemed, wants to be a hero, but has to then sell himself his own bullshit. I think all of that is happening.
Well, and it is I wonder, because I'd love to see him on the couch too, but I wonder if he's couchable, right?
No.
And sort of similar to Trump, like his malignant narcissism might make him literally impossible to, because like his fake level of introspection prevents any actual introspection.
Well, I don't think Trump has any of that.
Well, Trump doesn't, no, but Dukat.
But also compelling is that Kira is the opposite, right? Or her checks and balances are working the opposite way. I think that she is trying to be redeemed into a person, that wants to believe that people can change and that people can, because look at her. She's had to go from resistance fighter to diplomat. She's been compelled to these people. Plus, she's very religious. She's got all these moral kind of conflictions, and yet justifiably can't get past her one broad stroke paint of Dukat.
Yeah. And I think honestly, there's a really great yin and yang here with these two characters, because Kira is so definitionally authentic. Mm-hmm. Like she sort of can't do anything but be utterly authentic. Her feelings are on her sleeve. Her desires are right there in front. Her guilt, her shame, her love, her passion, it's all right there. And there's no level of subterfuge with Kira at all. Whereas Dukat he's a little bit like Garrick in a way that like he has no ability to be straight, and every time you see him attempting to be straight, it's not. Whether he's trying to fool
Kira
himself or trying to fool somebody else.
I'll point out my big wormhole / maybe it's a plot point, and we can talk about it later. We should move forward. Is this? They basically go on like a small freedom fighter war mission here, and we learn later in the episode she did not phone home. They know nothing about it. When that cloaked warbird shows up later, they are surprised on the station. So Kira ain't keeping logs, baby. She goes rogue quite a bit, and in this going rogue, she killed a lot of people. So I mean, she's not getting the gold star for honesty.
I don't think honesty is the right word. I mean authenticity. So she is always authentic to herself. Sometimes that means holding back information and not being honest, but her motivations are always right there and very clear. Anyway, so later, Kira shows Ziel how to operate a Cardassian rifle and a Federation rifle. And they have a bit of a play on the Russian AK-47, which is simple and sturdy. You can hammer and a nail with it. Very powerful, but also pretty glitchy or sort of very simple, versus the M16, which is much more complex and accurate, but also more fragile. They are preparing to be boarded by the Klingons. And Ziel speaks up for her father. She says the horrible things he did in the occupation really bother him, and he thinks it was a mistake.
Clip on?
Oh, you know what? We have a clip. Okay, so here's the thing. So we got a comment this week from C. Deaton, who asked, like, can you do clips? And you know what? We have debated this for a long time, always thinking that no, we can't, because we'll get dinged for the episode on copyright. We're unclear about what's going to happen. So this episode is a test.
Yeah. Now, my understanding, and it is nuanced, folks, trust me, we've gone down the rabbit hole deep. We are doing actual criticism / analysis. So I believe this is fair use.
It is 100% fair use in the legal sense. Whether YouTube will care about and think it through that much, or just demonetize the video. Unclear.
So maybe more clips to come, or this may be just a fun treat for freezies.
This will be it. So here's clip 1 of this scene, which I thought was really cool and interesting.
Weapon you're using.
You don't like my father very much, do you?
No, I don't.
I understand. He did some very bad things during the occupation.
Yes, he did.
It bothers him, you know.
Does it?
Very much. He talks about it sometimes. He'd never admit it to anyone else, but he thinks the occupation was a mistake.
Somehow, I don't think he'd say that if the Cardassians had won.
Maybe not. But maybe losing made him a better person.
Well, then a lot of innocent people died for his education.
I know. I think about that a lot, but when I look at my father, I have a hard time seeing a murderer.
And when I look at him, I have a hard time seeing anything else.
So there's
You're his daughter.
My father says that the two of you have a lot in common. That you both did things during the war that you regret. That's why he cares so much about what you think of him.
Ziel, what your father wants from me is forgiveness. That's one thing I can never give him.
So there's a bunch of different things there that I think is really interesting and fascinating. First off, it's terrific writing. I mean, that sort of conflict happening, that they're continually sort of they're coming at it both with reasonable points of view, coming at it firing hard. There's a take in there where Kira responds to something faster in tempo than the whole rest of the scene. And I think it's just great, whether it's in the edit or whether it was in the performance, just really, really excellent there.
Because it bypasses her checks and balances, right? To process everything and to funnel it through whatever screens. She goes right to, because it's deep.
And it's the type of like conflict pacing going on there, but also just really smart thoughts. I mean, what is Dukat looking for? Does he want to be respected? Does he want to be forgiven? Has losing made him a better person?
I enjoy in Stephen King's a lot of his, when he deals with prison, he deals with this really great and long character study. Be it, you know, a lot of his characters, be it in The Green Mile or Shawshank even, they are innocent, or he leads us to believe that perhaps they are innocent of the crime they are convicted of. But there are also many characters in those stories who are not innocent, who did the things they're in prison for. And what is the balance between paying a price? Can you just prescribe 4 Hail Marys and you're over it? Or 17 years and you're over it? Is there a redemption arc to be had through religion? Is there a redemption arc to be had because you realize you were wrong all kinds of things. And
Are there things that are unforgivable?
Right. War is a great example of that. And the point here that I love is that, of course, if you're on the losing side, let's say you legitimately believe something was wrong, right? In retrospect, does winning or having won or lost the conflict color that? Can it ever be trusted if it's colored? It's so much nuance. Know, Keith and I love us some nuance.
Yeah, it's such a good scene. It's really well written.
And I have changed as I've grown older, Keith. I used to prefer.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry, I'm not. This is very deep. This is from my therapist. But I used to prefer stories that had very clean cut, good guy, bad guy. Mm-hmm. Bad guy gets what he gets, right? In addition to that, not only that, I used to love major modal music. Like that used to be my. I really only gravitated towards it.
Tonal
right?
music,
Tonal music, or things with like really like sus4s, sus2s that resolved into the major mode. Just clean and easy. As I've gotten older, I appreciate more nuance, gray area, anti-heroes stories, and atonal music, dissonant music that is challenging. It challenges the kind of conception of that everything is one way or the other. The fact that we exist all at once. It's all happening together. That's why life is confusing, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that is the journey for everybody. And realizing that, gosh, I mean, it's a little bit like when you say when you get older, time goes faster, and every time you realize that, you think that that's as fast as it goes, and then another 5 years, oh my god, it's even faster. And I think it's also true with complexity and nuance, and it's just there is no black and white, man. There just isn't. So. Later, Dukat and Kira discuss possible new targets for the Klingon ship, trying to find the Klingon ship. They speculate it would be a station that has a secret weapons testing base. And part of Mark Alaimo's makeup is rubbing off in the shot. Go back one. You can, there it is. Yeah, you can totally see some of the makeup here is rubbing off.
I wonder if the AI caught that, or if...
And it rubbed onto his collar, too. So you can see that in a later shot, that there's a little bit of makeup on his collar. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So Kira says we need to lure the Klingon ship to them by faking having valuable cargo on the ship.
The honeypot.
So they've got a plan. But Dukat still can't stop himself from pressing the creep factor. Because Dukat gonna Dukat. So they warp off.
Well, he's newly single, Keith, as you know.
He is. I understand that. I am too. I hope I don't bring that creep factor into the world. So they warp off to the secret base and then turn on the fake cargo. Then they wait, which gives Dukat more time to monologue about getting revenge on a gull who banged his wife. Then the Klingon ship decloaks. Their plan worked.
Unfortunately, his wife decloaked as well, but it was for that other guy.
Indeed. Yeah, got that nacelle in there. So, two ships face off over the planet. The Klingons hail and ask, "Hey, what you carrying?" And the Klingon says, "I'm going to take your ship." So they lock on the tractor beam, and this, of course, was the plan. Dukat then fires, and they disable...
Screenshot.
Yeah. They disable the Klingon ship, but the Klingons fire back, and they have badly damaged the freighter. So, Kira decides to improvise and beam themselves onto the Klingon ship. Dukat and Kira battle hand to hand. Then Kira
that's a full-on suicide mission. Just,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
No, that's how they
They love a willy-nilly suicide mission on Trek.
Well, I mean, the Kiras do. So they then beam the Klingons onto the cargo ship.
There's one of those composite shots you were talking about. Really great.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
They beam the Klingons onto the cargo ship, and the people on the cargo ship onto the Klingon ship, and they are on the now empty Klingon bridge. And we have this because Kira. That's actually one of the specific shots I was talking about, where we have an in-focus foreground and background at the same time, which you can't do with a single lens. So those are two shots put on top of each other. So Kira knows the Klingon transporter codes. So this is the advantage of having Federation and Federation intelligence, as well as, Worf.
Mm-hmm.
And they have now pulled off a Star Trek 3, which I love the move. It is really repeated to pull this move, and especially to capture the exact same class of ship. To take a Klingon bird of prey exactly the same way. So I don't mind them reusing the technique. I think it would have been better if it were at least a different species or ship had they repeated that, but
that's a very specific, that's a Trekkie trope wormhole thing that I appreciate. But more importantly, I think to the actual, in my opinion, the best part, one of the best parts of this episode is the double realization here. He's so consumed with the fact that he took this ship and what that means for him that he doesn't even realize what they actually accomplished, which Kira does, which she's like, yo, we just got all of this info, dude. She's playing that long spy game, whereas he kind of, he was rising through the ranks because of his brutality, but he lacks that sort of extra.
Well, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. Kira is thinking about the fate of the universe and people in general, and Dukat is thinking about himself.
Yep.
And that is always, he's only thinking about it from his point of view, doesn't care about the fate of the universe. So Kira confirms that they beamed all their people to the Klingon ship and all the Klingons to the Cardassian ship.
We got these other clips too, right? You know when those happen?
Oh yes, no, I got them queued up. Okay. Don't you worry. So Kira jokes that the Klingon is going to have a hard time explaining this to the survivors, and Dukat says he's not going to get that opportunity. Then he fires, blowing his own ship up and killing every single one of the Klingons. Whew! So Kira asks if it was necessary, and Dukat says, "You're the terrorist, you tell me." I mean, again, gray areas. It's so interesting. So Damar,
all's fair in love and war, they say, right?
Yeah, I mean, God, I don't know. Damar and Ziel arrive on the bridge. The ship is secure. Dukat gloats about his glory. He's captured the first Klingon ship in Cardassian history. And, as Kira points out, the Klingon target priorities of the entire sector. Dukat is beaming. He calls the president of Cardassia in the captain's quarters, assuming he'll be restored to his full glory. But of course, later Dukat emerges back on the bridge. Kira is thrilled by the intelligence they got, but Dukat is despondent. He's been ordered not to engage the Klingons in any further conflict. The Cardassians are looking for a diplomatic solution, and he's been ordered back to the job of military advisor, but the Cardassians refuse to fight. Clip 2!
Change their minds. Convince your fellow Cardassians to go on the offensive.
Nah, I'd be wasting my breath. They wouldn't listen to me. No one wants to fight. There was a time when the mere mention of my race inspired fear. And now, we're a beaten people. Afraid to fight back because we don't want to lose what little is left.
It's not the Cardassians I know.
What Cardassians? Don't you see, Major? They're paralyzed. They're beaten and defeated. I am the only Cardassian left. And if no one else will stand against the Klingons, I will.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think some great stuff there, right? Like, obviously, post-war, there's so much we could talk about, but the truth is that this whole thing is framed from both their perspectives as that a beaten people, a lost, a step back, right? A being pegged down the ladder. But if you think about it, right? Isn't if the Cardassians, who were a warring people, right, who were occupying another, they lost the occupation or whatever happened. Now they're thinking, you know what? Well, maybe straight out war all of the time isn't working for us. So maybe we need to be more political. Isn't that kind of what the Federation wants? Isn't that a good thing?
Well, I think that's a fair point. I think that's one side of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other side is the Bajoran Cardassian situation has flipped.
Right.
And Kira was the person fighting against the Bajoran government capitulating with the more powerful side and deciding to fight as opposed to collaborate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that their positions are reversed now. You know, the Cardassians are always used to having the power, and right now the Klingons are way more powerful than the Cardassians. And so you have that push-pull. Do we fight or do we capitulate? Do we fight or negotiate? And I think Kira and Dukat in this moment are the same people. Kira, I'm sure, would have made that same speech 10 years ago.
Yeah. And because they were Bajorans and because of the picture we painted of Bajorans, we would have been like, rah, rah, go Luke, go Leia. But if it was the Empire, you know, it's just the beauty of same stuff we've been talking about. It's the fact that it's all happening concurrently just makes it great stuff, man. It's just and much more. And I will say it. I think many Trek people have been saying it for years. It's the nuance is what separates the two properties, right? Where that is basically an action property, whereas this is a much more an idea property.
It's so complex. I mean, how many episodes have we seen Dukat in?
Right.
At this point, and what do we feel about Dukat?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things.
Yeah, it's ballsy too, because what they are dealing with is much more like novel kind of stuff, like in a book, right? Because you have so much more time, and they're trying to get these ideas across in a 45-minute spurt, and so sometimes it doesn't work, right? Sometimes it doesn't. There's not enough meat on the bone because there's not enough bone, right?
Yeah.
But you can't fault them for trying.
You know what? That is a really good way of putting it, because Deep Space Nine, over the arc of 7 seasons, is one epic novel.
Yeah, it's very
Whereas Next Gen and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, but Next Gen is a comic book series where it is like a series of, there are some themes that move forward and some double parters, but like it's episodic. It's a series of small stories. And whereas Deep Space Nine is just one big long story.
Whereas Star Wars, I think some of the most effective, outside of the original trilogy, right? Some of the most effective properties have been the animated ones because they are treated that way. Like comic books in the good way, right? They're much more, they're using the medium to tell the story as well, yada, yada. But the 12 movies, however movies they are, when they're trying to blow it up into this epic saga, but the story really isn't. The story is kind of paper thin. That's why they don't have the story
to support it. Yeah. And here we are, like in the middle of War and Peace,
right?
Like literally.
Yeah.
So in Act 2, Kira tries to talk Dukat out of becoming a solo terrorist fighting the Klingons on his own, but he asks her to join him and lead the resistance. And he says, if Cardassia falls, Bajor's next, and you are born for this. And he knows that she's tempted, even though she really doesn't want to be his ally. But he knows somewhere inside of her there is a yes, and he makes a pretty good speech.
Oh, he car salesman's the hell out of this. Well, what can we do today to get you to a yes? What's it going to take to get your ass in a new Prius?
To be a terrorist again. So the ship is now operable again and goes to cloak. I mean, think about the advantage that Dukat has that the Bajoran resistance never had. He has a cloaking device. Mm-hmm. That's huge. So later, Ziel comes up to Kira to show off a self-defense trick.
Yeah.
But Kira is way too experienced and pins Ziel immediately.
Hey, I learned this in class today. Punch me no, you gotta punch me like this. No, you gotta punch me like this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I did this in karate class. No, you gotta come me from the front.
Yeah, exactly.
With your left hand.
That's cheating. It's cheating. She gives some very good advice. the best way to survive a knife fight is not to get in one. Ziel wants to show Kira wants Kira to show her how to defend herself in hand-to-hand combat, but Kira knows how to really help her. And she goes to the bridge to tell Dukat no. Clip 3.
Adoption.
Tell me, were you even tempted?
Not really.
I thought I was so eloquent.
You had your moments.
You're no Shakar.
But the fact of the matter is, I've already been where you're going. I've lived the life you're choosing. Fighting hit and run, always outgunned. Living on hate and adrenaline. It's not much of a life. And it eats away at you so that every day a little bit of you dies.
Very inspiring, Major. But
It's
Great.
It's really interesting.
Great stuff.
It's really interesting, and again, they're both telling the truth. Like, his desire to do this, part of it is fighting for his people. Part of it is narcissism, and what she's saying is like, I am tempted to go with you, but like, there's a real cost to this, and it's all, again, you don't see that in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
There's no cost to what they're doing. There's no emotional toll.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah.
The network just called. We got to get our main cast in for a second.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we have to pay everybody because they're in the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So she tells Dukat, I'm taking Ziel back to Deep Space Nine where she'll be safe. Ziel reminds Kira of herself, and she doesn't want her to go through what she went through, which, again, completing the circle, Ziel is Kira before she joined the Resistance, wanting to fight for her people, for her family, for whatever. And just like, if you do that, you're going to be me. And I don't think that's good. I mean, woof. So on the station, the bird of prey decloaks out of nowhere and shocks everyone to be captained by Dukat. Dukat says goodbye to Kira and Ziel, and they're warmer for the first time. They, meaning Kira and Dukat, are not as much enemies in this little moment here. Kira then introduces Ziel to Odo, and they walk across the promenade. And that is Return to Grace. Let us return to...
Oh, boy.
Oh, God!
2, 3, 4?
All right, Mike. Here you can see all of our socials and all of our contact. If you are curious about that, let us talk about wormholes in the plot.
Light wormholes this week, Keith. One we talked about was the sort of continues my just upsetness with most of our main cast when they go off on a side adventure, especially if it will involve suicide mission, side quests. Just leave a message. Send me a text. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know that you've murdered 13 Klingons. Let me know that you stole a cloaking warbird. Let me know that Dukat's trying to, get in your pants. Just send a text, okay? I understand maybe why she didn't want to mention some of the war stuff, because it could maybe skirt her professional duties and obligations.
Well, I think this is very clear, right? She doesn't tell Sisko because Sisko will tell her not to do it. And, so she can't do these things if Sisko knows. And I bet they have a relationship where Sisko, the person, is be like, yeah, go do that. Sisko, the captain, can't let her do that. So by telling Sisko what's happening, it both stops her from doing what she needs to get done, and B, puts Sisko in a bad position. And so I think this is a forgiveness, not permission sort of a situation that is I think it's a tactical decision not to communicate.
Okay, cool, but still, there's going to be a lot of hell to pay and a lot of repercussions if they're caught or killed or whatever with the Klingons. So maybe at that point, for the sake of just the long-term ramifications, let somebody know, you know? But
yeah, I mean, yes.
Because Ben's going to have to clean up the mess if she's murdered on this thing. He's going to have to, like, you know, he's still going to go to Ben. He's going to have to fill out a report. A lot of paperwork, Keith.
A lot of paperwork. That's true. That's true.
So there's that. Also, there's just kind of like a lot of shortcuts, a lot of shorthands here, technically. Like, how did she retrofit the thing? How did this happen? How did that, like, we just have to assume, oh, she's good at this stuff, which is how we handle stuff mostly. So it's not a big deal, but I thought it's worth bringing up. But outside of that, I think it's so self-contained, and it's less an action episode. I mean, there's less really any plot. It's really not about plot movement so much as plot pieces to set a nice cushion for us to just like have an exchange of ideas, really. You know what I mean? So there are not a lot of wormholes. Anything to add?
No, I don't think so.
The makeup thing.
The makeup thing. It's a wormhole in the plot. It's a wormhole in the production, not the wormhole in the plot. Yeah, no, I mean, it's, you know, all the questions you can raise about it, Dukat's behavior and motivation, Kira's behavior and motivations, like, that is the plot. The plot is trying to piece together, like, what's actually going on here, what are the motivations, because there's so many different layers. You have the motivations that they're saying out loud are the motivations. There's the motivations that they know are riding under the surface. Then there are the third level of motivations that are we as the audience who know more than all of them probably see a third layer of motivation that they might not have the introspective ability to even know about. But that's the question. So is it confusing? Is it a little complex? Do we not get a clear answer to any of that? Yeah, you're damn right. But that's the whole point. Let's talk best moment.
There's so many great monologues to discuss and to pick from. But I think for me, I mean, Kira's monologue at the end is very good because I think it kind of sums it all up. But for me, I think for me, the best moment in the episode. Because as much as I feel like I should have seen it coming, I didn't see it coming. And I think it's a manifestation of how much I want to see the redemption of Dukat. And you know where it all ends up with him, so it's funny. It must be interesting to watch me kind of struggle with him, the back and forth. But there's that moment.
I think you just described the entire point of the show.
Yeah. There's that moment right after they capture the warbird, and Kira's like, yo, we got all the codes, and we got the logs, we know where they're at, we got all the stuff. And you think that there's going to be some sort of plot resolution where, like, he realizes, like, that he sees the hero-ness in just sort of that type of pursuit. The hero-ness, he just said. But then he's like, oh, wait. There's a moment in that scene right before he presses the button where there's so much, potential energy, right? Before he releases it. And, like, the kinetic energy can go one of two ways, and we're sitting in that potential energy, and there's so much possibility. And then he blows them up, which adds its own element of, you could argue that was maybe the right move, because, that could have sparked a bigger, but that's not the point. The point is that moment right before where all possibilities existed. I'm going to pick that as my best moment because it had me. It had me hook, line, and sinker right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. I think for me, my best moment is another Alaimo moment. And that was the early on moment when they attack the Klingon ship and the Klingon ship just ignores them. Mm-hmm. And watching Dukat eat shit and just be so emasculated, and watching Alaimo, this we talk about good acting is frequently having the emotion but fighting to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we see that right there. We see the utter humiliation of Dukat while he tries to hide it. I just think it's just such a good acting moment. And so that's honestly my best moment.
Okay. Well, Keith, that leaves us with just one last thing to do.
Indeed. Maybe.
Well, that didn't work.
You tried, though. A for effort.
Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stem bolts for you.
I think this episode, first, I want to give it props for reminding me that we're in a big war with the Klingons, because I'd forgotten entirely. So it was a good reminder. It was cool to see the Sial stuff bring back up. I think, truthfully for me, I think the episode suffers a little bit under the weight of itself. I just feel like maybe a B-plot could have helped out here. I appreciate all the stuff. In fact, this is one of those episodes that got a little better through discussion, because that's what it's fodder for. I think the fact that we can have such a cool discussion about it is awesome. It's a great book club episode, and they're fascinating, and the back and forth is fascinating, and the way they're able to progress the ideas and reinforce them by introducing some checks and balances. Really great stuff. I feel that Sial thus far, she wasn't challenged at all this episode, which I thought was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I mean, Kira tries to push back to her, and Sial just kind of says, yeah, I've already dealt with a lot of that. Like, I've recognized the father was a bad guy. I've been going to therapy. Whereas there was an opportunity for sort of a three-way exchange here, and maybe we didn't really get to see Sial and Dukat. There was three characters on our little bubble, right? And we only really spent the time on the two, which I understand. I'm just saying, I'm just saying overall.
Yeah.
And I'm also a little not confused. I'm conflating a lot of different shows we've been watching. So the sort of Hunt for Red Octoberness of it, like everything is on the bridge of this one ship, and like it's all tactical, and we don't see much of any of it. Felt a little suffocating, and it wasn't as effective. The tension wasn't as effective as some of the other Red October episodes we've seen, even though they're happening on different series. So I don't want to it's hard to blame this, but it's just how I'm feeling. It just felt like the pacing got a little it's hard because we didn't. It was all A plot all the time for 45 minutes, so there wasn't a lot of. It just felt the pacing was good, but it just felt like I wanted a little more. That said, I mean, the writing was exquisite this week and just well performed. Both of them got to show inertia, but they also got to show restraint. We got to see their inner conflicts. We got to see so much great stuff. It's hard to, So that all said, just so we can keep pushing here, I'm not as high as I've been. I love these two together. I love the performances. I love the ideas. So I can't knock it. The excitement factor, I'm not giving it. I can't give it, and then you have to hold it up against some of the other two-handers we've had. We've had some incredible two-handers. So I'm going to put it at 83 stem bolts, bumped up a few stars for performance to 86. 86 self-sealing stem bolts.
Yeah, interesting. I think I like this one better than you did. I think that, first off, this is a sequel to Indiscretions. Previously...
Pretty direct, yeah.
It's another two-hander with Kira and Dukat. Instead of rescuing Zial's, but it really is Dukat's quest to be redeemed in Kira's eyes is such a meaty topic. I really liked anytime you can get Dukat monologuing, especially in his weird, needy way to Kira, because he is, again, make the endless comparisons to Trump, but he is bloviating in this incredibly arrogant way, but there's such a neediness underneath it, and just I desperately need to be liked or feared or admired or something. He's a black hole of insecurity, and it's just really, really interesting to watch the ride that Dukat goes on, right? Throughout this whole, I think the pacing of the show, it's all Dukat's journey. We begin he is sort of humbled. He's done something vaguely noble, paid a price for it, and doesn't really regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sort of starts off in this good place. Then he's like continually emasculated until Kira sets him on another journey, a chance at redemption, but not the type of redemption that he begins with. He begins with some sort of like a moral redemption, caring for his daughter, paying the price, accepting it. But she gives him the crack of the redeeming his power, right? His influence, and now he has a chance to reclaim that, and it triggers like the megalomaniacal part of him that he put in a box. Then he has this great victory, right? And then, you know, he gets on the ship, and then he displays his ruthlessness by killing the Klingons. And then he's at the peak. He's like, I'm going to have all of my power restored. Then he gets knocked down again by his own people, saying, "Oh, we're not going to fight. All the things that we used to value in you, we no longer do." So then he's given another choice to go out on his own and become his own, you know, his own little captain of his own little one-man army happening. And then the choice to allow his daughter to leave, right? To allow Ziel to go back to Deep Space Nine. Well, part of that is for her own good, right? She'll be safer there. She won't be wrapped up in this war and turn into Kira. Part of it is expedience. He doesn't have to deal with her, and he can go off and do his stuff there. And part of it is like, wow, he gave up his daughter real easy. After giving up all of that, he's like, yeah, all right, let me go. Now I'm a captain of a ship now. I don't give a crap. And it's really complex, the ride that he goes on. And I think it's fascinating. Now, in terms of Ziel's part in this, and her not being the third part of that triangle that she could have been, I think because Ziel, at least through these 2 episodes, she is designed to represent innocence. She's not really a character yet. She just represents the innocent eye, right? And the corruptible thing, right? Because both Dukat and Kira, at least to themselves, see themselves as corrupted, as immeasurably stained by what they have done. And Ziel, representing innocence, comes in and is attracted to the thing that corrupted them. And that's Kira's whole motivation is to do, let's not corrupt this innocence here. And I think that's why, and she sort of has to be that for Dukat's redemption, right at the beginning, she sort of has to be this ism as opposed to a character yet. And it'd be interesting to see how that moves going forward, but I think that's why she didn't have much agency beyond representing that like plot idea. In the end, to me, I love this sort of plot of Dukat getting a Klingon bird of prey with a cloaking device and off on like a solo mission. Like, what the hell's Dukat gonna get up to with that? I think that's fascinating. That's really cool. I love some of the machinations. I love, you know, mounting the giant cannon in the cargo bay. Like, that's just cool. There's just no getting around it. That's cool. I think having you know, Kira and Dukat being able to monologue at each other and watching the sparks fly between the two of them, fascinating. The ideas were great. I really enjoyed this episode. It's one that is always welcome when it shows up on my rewatch. So for me, it's getting, you know what? I'm going to bump it up. It's going to be 91.75.
Okay.
In my opinion, of self-sealing stem bolts. In the world on IMDb, it gets a 7.7, which makes it 69 out of 173. Only slightly above average. Yeah, so if you would like to, check up on all of our stuff, you can check out us this episode every Wednesday, K&M Geekly every Monday. Check out the Out of Practice podcast. We mentioned it earlier. You can see all of our nonsense with the practice back in the day.
Yeah, I thought it is worth mentioning, just as kind of a scheduling thing, folks. For those who listen to us weekly, thank you so much for doing so. This week, we're here. Next week, nothing changes. The following week is the holiday kind of extravaganza here in the United States, so we will be taking that week off. We might post a little happy holidays, we might not, but if you don't see a new Deep Space Nine that week, the week of Christmas here in the US, that would be why.
It is a planned week off.
The following week, we will not have a regular episode. We have something special planned that I guess we'll leave a surprise because it'll be fun.
Sure,
but it will
But
not.
the patrons are getting it early.
Yes, the patrons will get it early. So we won't see it'll be 2 weeks before you see the next episode. So nothing's out of the place. We have some things going on. That's all. So yeah, that's the only housekeeping I had for you, Kiwi.
Okay, check out Look at My Toys, check out Strange New Show, and next week we will be discussing the Sons of Moog, and yes, we will be watching the appropriate Next Gen episode for our patrons before we get there. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you back here next week with another episode of Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Hope we don't get demonetized. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.